Okay, so this is what I have going here. I tacked on this little more sort of modern style trimmer pot, which came out of this old circuit board from an old, I think it was a System 3 TV or something like that. But anyway, okay, I'm gonna try and see if that works. The only thing I'm a bit concerned about is the fact that that's way smaller than these things. So I'm not sure if like there's a wattage difference. Probably is, I don't know. So I don't know if this thing can handle it or not. But I think it should probably be good. So I'm gonna try and fire it up and see what happens. I'll try and adjust it or see, what I can do. Right now I have it turned all the way to the right, which is the highest resistance, which I hope gives me the lowest idle current, so I don't burn anything up. It fit on there kind of weird. The two pins on the bottom, I put them where the wiper and the left pin on the old one went, and then the wiper I put it where the right pin went. But since the wiper and the right pin left or joined together, it doesn't matter. So it worked out pretty well. So yeah, let's see what happens. I have the speaker hooked up and I have the voltmeter ready to go. I don't know if a voltmeter really offers any usable information, but let's see. I'm not getting hot. Try and get the radio. I don't know if you can hear that. It's not hot. Come on. Doesn't seem to make any difference. Okay, so I took some more voltage measurements, and since that the what do you call it, the PNP transistor, the bottom one, is still getting 0 volts on base, and everything else is still really off balance. Basically, the bottom one is completely inactive. 0 volts on base. I went over here and I decided to check the drive transistor since it gets its voltage from there, and let's see if I can show you what I found. If this thing will focus. That's completely rusted off or severed or whatever. I do see like some corrosion in there, and I guess this completely fell off, so that's a stupid fault. Okay, so now we're going to try this again. I soldered it back in. The thing is that even though I looked at this thing closely before, the pin was actually still in place, so I hadn't noticed. It was still in place, but not actually making any contact. But okay, let's see if this thing doesn't blow up this time, and see what happens. Let's hope if I plug this thing. Oh, that sounds promising. Sounds better than before. Let me turn it down because it's all the way up, and let me try the radio. I can figure out which one of these is the radio. Oh yeah, that sounds tinny, but sounds better. Oh, this guy's overheating again. Fuck. Let me try turning the bias down. Or up, or whatever the hell that is. See if it makes any difference. No, it's still getting hot as hell. Damn it. Yeah, it gets really hot. No, this other stuff gets hot. This one seems a little bit hot. Oh, I just kind of soldered it a few minutes ago, so I don't know if that has anything to do. Yeah, what the hell? This is really annoying me. Okay, so this is what got this thing to work, more or less. And the trick was to actually turn this down so the resistance was the lowest. I thought it was the opposite way to make it have a lower voltage. So when I turn it back down, the voltage at the base of this guy, which was overheating, gets down to like 0.7, versus when I was all the way over to the right, it was about 1.5 or so. The thing is, when I turn it to the left, the lowest voltage I can get out of it is like 0.7, and I would think that the ideal voltage is like 0.6 or something. But it doesn't overheat this way, and it actually made it sound a little bit louder, and I'll try and demonstrate that. So I'll try and show you what happens when I turn it up. Con este último tema de sonoras, les recuerdo mañana a partir de las 6 de la mañana los espero en el Amanecer Ranchero. Gracias. Esto es Congoja y es la Sonora Santanera. Buenas tardes. So when I turn it down, it gets louder, but the audio gets crummier. When I turn it up, it sort of seems to smooth out a little. But of course, if I turned up too much, this thing starts overheating. I'm gonna try and see if I can set this to. Well, actually, forget about that for now. Here's the latest voltage readings, and they're still not that great, although we finally have voltage at this base here. So yeah, top one on the right channel, 15.8 on base, collector 31.1, emitter 15.4. Base on the bottom one, 1.5, where we had 0 volts before, 15.4 on collector and 0 on emitter. So it still looks really weird, and the other channel, the left channel, which was working before, is actually pretty similar to this one now. You can see there's a lot of similarity between those voltages, except this one's overheating like crazy. And yeah. The other thing is that even though they're sort of similar in voltages and stuff, the left channel sounds a lot better. Let me try and hook this up here. Crap. You can hear the audio is way better. So audio on the right channel is way better, even though they're basically the same in terms of crappy voltages and stuff. Okay, so my output transistor voltages this whole time, especially the top end transistors, which both show about 15 volts on base, which I thought was weird, but now I actually think that's normal. And so actually this time I went through the whole amp and I tested the voltages on all the transistors on both channels, and what I found is that both channels are pretty much identical in terms of voltages. So for example, here's the output transistors for the right channel, here's the output transistors for the left channel. So you can see, you know, all the voltages are pretty much identical. The only thing is that on the right channel my base voltage on the bottom transistor is a little bit elevated. But I mean, still nothing drastically different. This time I measured the drivers. Here's the right channel drivers, top end, bottom end. Here's the left channel, top and bottom. Base and emitter are a little bit more elevated on the top end of the left channel driver than it is on the right channel driver. But I mean, that's still not a massive difference or anything. And so one thing that I thought was weird is that the bottom transistor is a PNP. The driver on the bottom side is a PNP, and it's got positive 15 volts on the base, which is weird, but I mean, regardless, it's still giving out the proper voltage on the collector. At least on the left channel, this one's giving a little bit too much. This voltage is the same as this voltage, because this gets the base voltage from the collector of this, so this and this are the same junction. different voltages here because I measured them at different times, but like here you can see these two are pretty much the same. So yeah, I mean, that was weird. I would expect to see negative voltage there, but whatever. I mean, still same thing on both channels, and the same thing goes for every transistor on both channels. And so I think these 15 volt voltages are actually normal. And so here's the circuit that I've been using as a reference. This is just a circuit that I found online, but I find it to be pretty much, well, I mean, pretty similar to what I have. Might not be the exact same thing, but pretty similar. And so if you look at this junction here, this is where we're getting those 15 volts on the output transistors. And I just came back and looked at this for a while, and I realized about this resistor here. If you remember, there's 15 volts between the two transistors because it halves the power supply voltage. So there's 15 volts here, starting at the at the emitter of this transistor here, and there's this resistor that goes to the base. So that it's picking up the 15 volts from here and it takes them to the base, which is weird to me because I would have expected to see 0.6 volts. But considering this thing halves the power supply voltage, that kind of starts making a little bit more sense. The other thing that's still weird to me is that there's also 15 volts here, which is probably coming from this resistor here. But I would expect these diodes here to sort of regulate that to like 0.6 or something. That's what I'm used to seeing. So that's weird to me, but I mean, I guess that's normal, especially considering you see the same thing on both channels. So yeah, again, forgive me that I've been saying stupid crap this whole time, but I'm not used to these things. Over here on the bottom end, this is the junction where we're seeing like a more normal voltage than over here because this resistor connects to ground, 0 volts. So you expect a lower voltage there than over here. And so yeah, I mean, I guess that's probably normal, and I'm thinking now that my crappy audio issue might be due to something else now, like a bad coupling capacitor or something like that. So it's probably time to look at something else. I still have to change the little adjustment pot on the left channel. I'll do that now. And yeah, we'll see. We'll start looking for something new and see if we can figure out how to make this thing work again properly.